Hello, my name is Jackie Anders. Look for my interview on Mupo and Friends, or you can watch it on mupoentertainment.com.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mupo and Friends. I'm Holly Lombardi, your co-host, and I'm here with Michele Mupo, our host. And today we have a very special guest. Jackie Anders is an author of 3 published books, 2 trilogies, and a teacher residing in Houston, Texas. She is also a blogger, inspirational speaker, and a songwriter who possesses a bachelor's degree in business management and a degree in educational leadership. With many years of experience as a high school and elementary teacher in the Texas public school system, she currently is a behavioral specialist at Humble ISD, where she works with children suffering from impairments such as ADHD, PTSD, ODD, anxiety, and depression. Please welcome Jackie Anders. Welcome, Jackie. How are
Hello,
you?
guys. I'm doing good. How are y'all doing?
Great.
It
Good to have you.
is awesome.
It's good to be on the show. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Well, we're super excited to talk about the wonderful work that you've been doing.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. I have to do it because you're from Texas and I'm from New Jersey. So I got to put a little Jersey into it. So please tell me what actually inspired you to write these 3 books and how long have you been writing?
So I've been writing poetry and songs since I first got on a piano and I was about 5 years old. I didn't actually start writing stories or novels until high school into my college years, and I didn't finish a novel until I was in my 40s. So it's a long, drawn out love of writing that finally came to fruition and I got published. But the books that I have published, I have 2 different trilogies out. The first trilogy is a time travel trilogy, and I got the idea for writing that by working with high school students. And I saw the types of books they were reading, and they weren't learning anything of educational value. So I thought, oh, if I can bring in historical facts, of course, because when you go back in time and you travel, you get to go to any place in time that you want to, and you can learn all kinds of neat stuff. So that was my chance to teach kiddos, but in an entertaining way. Little did I know that it mainly appealed more to grown men and grown women. They've loved it. They've loved the little bits of romance. The men have loved the action, the special ops soldiers. And then my family runs a not-for-profit organization called the Warrior Bonfire Program for our Purple Heart veterans. And so I got ideas for my characters based on being a part of that organization with my family. So all of that kind of came together, and then the plot just boom, it hit me. And once I started writing, I didn't stop until a few months later when I had the product done. So that was the first time I finished an entire novel, over 40. Now, Orion Rising, I wrote that one after I started working here as a behavioral specialist because, as Holly said, I work with students that, they're angry, depressive, many different impairments, and they sometimes will lose hope, and it's our job to restore them back to positive and get them happy again and give them hope. But to get there, it's a long process because they're dealing with a lot of anger, and that's where I got the idea for Taya Lane, who is my protagonist in Orion Rising, because she too struggled with anger, and because she had been moved from foster home to foster home, abusive foster homes, and just decided to live under the radar and survive on the streets of downtown Houston, Texas. So then that way she didn't have to go back into a bad foster home. But of course, I've got to make it entertaining. So that's when I brought in the aliens, and that's why Orion Rising is a science fiction trilogy. So yeah, it's a little bit of both.
I was reading about it, and it looks like it's just an incredible journey. I got excited and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing, because there's just so much fantasy, but with reality and true subjects. And your love for kids really shows in your books. Are any of your characters or the storylines in there that you tell based on true life students that are yours?
Actually, yes, of course, I can't comment anybody in
Mhm.
particular. It was kind of
Right.
a combination of several students over the past few years that Taya became, or um, is where Taya came from. So she's dealing with some of those same issues that those students had dealt with. But what I did find is a lot of those students that I worked with that struggled the most were highly intelligent, very intelligent. And that's where I got the idea for Taya to be a STEM student and a female, STEM student. And she just kind of came alive. And then I saw in her the struggles that I saw in my babies that I worked with here. The other thing, my daughter and I sometimes will go into downtown Houston and feed the homeless. And I saw the communities that were built in these homeless shelters. Everybody looked out for everybody. It's like a little family. If somebody forgot to get their bag of, their sandwich and chips and drinks, someone else would come up and grab it for them and go, oh, I'm bringing it over here. And you would see them, they'd walk around and hand it out to everybody else. So it was like, they're like a family. And I think a lot of people miss that. They don't realize that. And I could highlight that in my book. I could show how Taya, she was an orphan, but when she ended up living with the homeless people on the streets is when she first got a family, and I could talk about that and I could bring those characters to life. So it was really neat. It was really neat.
That's incredible. I love that you go out with your daughter and do that. That is just, yeah.
Thank you.
Very. Share with us about the Phoenix trilogy, Phoenix Field of Mars. Tell us about that. And you also have Phoenix by the Sword.
Yes, so Phoenix Field of Mars, that's the first book in the Phoenix trilogy. The protagonist is a modern day career woman. So she is just headstrong, wanting to obtain her dreams of being a CEO by a certain age. She's only about 27, but you know how us women can be. So it's she has a lot of drive. But then she stumbles in on this mission that takes her back into time to first century ancient Rome. Well, back in those days, the sword is mightier than the pen at that point. So she has to learn, whoa, there are only certain things that I can do by myself. I have to rely, and in this case with the special ops soldiers, I have to rely on some men. And she was very hesitant at first because she was used to taking charge. But along the way, the special ops guys realized how much they need her because of her skills and her education and how she learned how to read people. And she figured out things that they did not see. And it was very important that they worked as a team to figure these out because the idea or the plot is a rogue scientist takes a virus of our time back to first century ancient Rome to kill millions, which of course will impact our timeline now, our lives now. So it's an adventure. It goes from Israel to, it goes to ancient Rome. It goes all over. And Phoenix 2 by the sword goes through Persia. I kind of go across that whole continent and bring in a lot of different cultures and faiths and really show people what everything was built on back then and why those people made the decisions that they made that have impacted us now. So, and then Phoenix 3 comes out in March, which I won't say too much about that. It's kind of give too much away. But the question
You
is, does
included
she
a
ever
lot.
get back?
You included a lot of history. That's
Yes.
beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
You were nominated for an Elite Author Academy Awards for Aryan Rising. Was that the first nomination?
Yes, actually it was. It was. It's weird. I've been published for 2 years and it's the first ever. So, and it's not, it was one of those things whenever they announced it, I was like, I don't even know why I'm watching this, and they did it virtual because of the virus. So I'm sitting over here like, why am I watching this? Why am I know I'm not. And then they call my name and I start crying. It was surreal, and more so because it's been a long journey for me as a literary and music person to get to this point of where I'm at, but to realize that I'm doing something that I'm meant to do versus just doing something as a hobby, or maybe I'm good at, maybe I'm not. I still have a little imposter syndrome, and I find that a lot across the writing community. We still do that, even though I've been nominated. And I actually won another award that same weekend. I didn't win that one, but I won another award. But still, as you look at your numbers, your sales data, all of that, you still think, am I really? You never know when you can say I've made it. And that's what's really, really tough. But you take the excitement when it comes, those moments, and you just use that to fuel yourself as you move along.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's okay. So, is your fourth book, Phoenix Birds of Spring, out yet?
That one comes out in March. And that one's the one thing that my readers have said, or the reviews that have come in, is there are a lot of twists and turns in my books. I don't like boring. I like suspense. I like to get my readers thinking. I want them thinking about it even after they finish the book, that they can't get it off their mind. So for me, it's always been, when I've read books, it's the twist and turns and the suspense and the mystery, that build up and wondering what's going to happen. Are they going to survive? Why didn't they catch this back then? Because look what's happening now, and maybe the reader saw it and one of the characters didn't. It's just things like that. So book 3 solves a lot of mysteries that were built up in book 1 and 2. So I'm excited about it coming out.
I love mystery. I remember as a child reading a lot. I used to read a book a day, and I love the books that were like yours, like just very intricate and had a lot of depth, a lot going on, a lot of an element of a journey, of a mystery. And I wanted to ask you, what are the therapeutic benefits for you are there therapeutic benefits of writing this kind of material as a writer?
Yes, it's an escape. Writing and music is one of the best escapes when you had a stressful day and you go home, you get the kids all settled in, and you either sit down and read, listen to music, or you write. You escape and you get to go into a world that is not like your own. And I think that is underrated. But I do know that the Warrior Bonfire program, I'll bring them up again, that's something that they're trying to show the veterans, how therapeutic art in it, in its entirety can be. Either if you're painting or you're writing or you're reading or you're playing music, that is some of the best therapy for those soldiers. So I think a lot of people miss that and they don't realize, just take some time to develop or to get involved in something that you love. That would be a great hobby that could later turn into something. You never know.
Yeah, now I have to start writing again, but I definitely do. Um, what is your most difficult part of writing, of the actual writing process?
Well, whenever books come to me or stories come to me, they come to my head all at once. It floods me all at once. I see all the characters, I see everything that happens. Now, some writers are different. Some writers have to have story maps and they lay it out, and they enjoy that or they don't enjoy that. You hear different things from different authors. For me, when everything floods me, I want it down as quick as possible. I want to get it out there. I want someone else to see what's going on in my head. That's what's difficult for me. Maybe I'm a little ADD, like some of my students, attention deficit. I just want it out there, I don't know, but I won't stop writing. It's sometimes I can go on a bender of maybe 10,000 words in one day because I get obsessive, but I want it. I want it to get out there, and I do get a little impatient with it. But the problem with that is when you're rushing it, you're rushing art, and I don't think that that's ever a good idea. So it means I have to go back and do some more drafts and slow down. But at least I get it out there, or I get it on the computer, not out there to the public, but on the computer, that I can go back and tweak it and fix it up and pretty it up.
How do you develop your characters? Do you the ones that are sometimes maybe not based on real life, but are based on the ideas and the thoughts of the theme that you're writing about? Do you create the plot first? Do you develop the characters, or do you just steamroll what's going on in your head and then make sense of it later?
That's a good question. It just depends. It really depends. Sometimes I see most of the characters, but as the characters are speaking to each other, or they're moving through time, or moving from city to city, or whatever's going on as the plot is driven along, new characters just jump in and you don't expect that. And it's just all of a sudden a new character's like right there, and your character that you had in your head all this time is reacting differently to this new character that kind of changes things a little bit, to where you have to picture, who is this new character? Who is he? Or who is she? Where did she come from? What does she look like? You know, why is she impacting my character the way that she or he is? So it kind of, it's very fluid. It just depends on what's going on in the story. But whenever I don't see the character, whenever I just know I need a character, is when it's very dull. So I'm very careful about that. I want to make sure I'm excited about the intro of this character coming into the picture, because if I'm not excited about them, I'll never see them, and I don't think I will do them justice to where my readers see them. That makes sense.
Absolutely.
Does does. Now, when did you first call yourself a writer?
That's a good one. Well, I knew I called myself a songwriter when I was in high school, because I went into some recording studios and I felt like that meant, okay, he's letting me use his recording studio without a fee, so that must mean I have there's something, I have some kind of talent. So I was like, okay, now I know I'm a songwriter. It wasn't until I actually got that first publishing contract where a publishing house invested in me did I feel like, okay, now I'm a writer. It's not just me playing around. The only problem with that is that's my personality, and I don't think that that's the right way to think. And I don't want anyone in the writing community to think, oh, you know, it's going to have to be when I have a contract, or when I win an award, or when I make a certain amount of money. It's just how I think, because I'm hard on myself. But if you can sit down and you can write even a first draft on a story, yeah, you're a writer. I mean, if you're excited enough about it to sit down and take time to do something and you're not getting paid for it, yeah, you're a writer. So, but it's a process for me to get to that point to think I am this, you know, because I put in this much time and energy, because I'm hard on myself. I'm my worst enemy.
Now, I know the stories is what you write is a passion, and but I also know getting your message out there to the public is very important to you because of the subject matters. How are you on a business level using social media as an author to get your message across?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, because whenever I first got the publishing contract, they sent over paperwork and they go over details of what you need to do now that you're going to be published, what you need to do to get your platform going, and your marketing. And even though they do a lot, they still require a lot. And one of the big things was Twitter, Instagram, and a business Facebook account. So at the time, I had personal Facebook, and I don't remember if I had Instagram, but I know I did not have Twitter. So I was like, Twitter, what's that? And I just I opened an account and I found the writing community. I found the 5 a.m. Writers Club. I found the poetry community. I started reaching out to all of them. What do I do? What's involved in this? You know, I just know I need to grow this account, meet people. Little did I know that that was probably my biggest step in the right direction, were these social media accounts, because of the people I've met, not because of my publishing house. It's the people that I've met online through these social media accounts.
So, did you design your own cover for the trilogy books? What went into that design?
Well, it depends. I have two different publishing companies. So the Phoenix Field of Mars and Phoenix by the Sword, I actually found those pictures. Phoenix 3, Birds of Spring, I had a little bit of help from Black Rose Writing Design crew. On Orion Rising, Static Pen actually found the cover for Orion Rising. So I kind of, but I got to approve it. It wasn't anything that they just. I've heard authors say that their hands were not in it at all, that they couldn't make those decisions. But I've been very blessed that the two publishing companies that I've worked with have let me have a say in the covers, because at the end of the day, it's kind of like book trailers. When I do the book trailers, when I hire someone to do the book trailers, there are elements that you want in it because visual is very important. That's one of the first things people see before they decide whether or not they're going to read your book is the cover. Yeah.
Right. That's so true. And your covers are catchy. They're beautiful.
Thank you.
They take you on you're like, what is this? I want to know. I want to go inside. I want to open the book. A lot of writers have their own process, the way they have to have everything set up. Some writers have to go out of town, go rent a cabin to write and create, it's all about the space. I know a writer friend that she'll travel to the beach area and have this beautiful home on the beach and do writing seminars there. What do you need in your writing space to stay focused and to live your process?
There are many different places and things that I need. You'll be surprised, it varies. I will say that I enjoy to people watch. Everyone will tell you that, oh yeah, Jackie, she's the one that she'll sit there with her laptop acting like she's writing, but all she's doing is people watching, because I like to see facial expressions. I like to see how people talk to each other. I like to see if they're a little stressed, how their body language is. So sometimes I can just go to coffee shops and sit there for an hour just watching people and maybe put a little bit into the writing. But other than that, it's getting out around people. I think that's huge in character development. And then plus, while you people watch, you sit there and go, I wonder what their story is. I wonder, are they in a bad mood because of something at work? I wonder where they came from. What's their background like? What's their family life like? And that makes it interesting too, because we are not just, nobody is just plain. We all have depth to us. It's not just the characters we put in books. They're really, everybody has depth. We all have something that is special about us, whether it's social or, it's talent, gifts, and your unique qualities. So that I love to do. But on the flip side of that, I do like quiet spaces sometimes. Sometimes I like to play music. Sometimes I just go and there was one time when I was writing Orion Rising that I went into my closet, closed the door, and sat in there for 3 hours in my closet so I could write a scene about Taya being trapped in a room. And because I wanted to feel that intensity. It's kind of like Christian Bale said it, the actor Christian Bale, how you dive into the character. Well, it's the same thing with authors. Sometimes we dive into it. We have to feel it. We have to know the smells. We have to know the intensity. We have to feel it. So I've done that. I do like the beach. I like the ocean. I like the smells. But there was, you asked me that question, and there was a place that I went to in Florida on this last trip I took for my books. And it was lunchtime, and I decided I'm not going to sit in the cafeteria with everybody, which I should have been networking that day. But I was like, I want to get out and about. I haven't been to Florida in a long time. I found this hole in the wall smokehouse. Okay. When I mean hole in the wall, I mean, they're probably one of those little old shopping centers that had 3 businesses and then a restaurant. So it just looked like just these small little businesses, and it was older, and it said smokehouse, but there was a line going out of that smokehouse, out of that restaurant. And I was like, I'm going to try it. I'm going to try that barbecue. So I went in, and it was really small and it was really quaint. There were only 2 tables. And on the wall was all this. I don't know if y'all are into hunting. I know not many people are. I do hunt, but but there were things like that all over the wall. Support of veterans. There was military things all over the walls. And the owner, of course, was there. So he was the one taking my order. And I looked back into his kitchen and he had an old timey stove and his beef stew was in an old fashioned pot just sitting there on the stove. And from that moment right there, I was like, that's my next young adult trilogy. I am going to write about a young girl who her family owns a little restaurant like this, and they're big hunters and they're small town people, and the things that she's, and the plot just started. It just took off. I was like, this is perfect. What's better than that to show the rest of the world? I'm talking about all the way in Japan, the culture of Florida, Texas, and Louisiana. It's if you walk into a little place like this and you get some real good home cooking like beef stew and ribs. And now I'm getting hungry.
I'm hungry too. You just made me hungry. I've got chai latte over here. It's not feeling so appetizing anymore. You're very creative. I love the fact that you venture out like that. You never know what will happen if you journey out into the world. And that's incredible. And that became your book.
Yep, that's the newest one. Yeah, just like that.
I love cool finds like that. Just exploring, going out for the day.
Oh, we're definitely interview. Let me tell you, because I have an idea that came to my head. But just out of curiosity, if you could spend a day with another popular author, who would you actually choose to like tag around and shadow every day?
That's an easy one. It's going to have to be Richard Matheson. And I know I bring him up a lot, but he's the one who wrote Omega Man, which actually they turned into Will Smith's movie, I Am Legend. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that one.
Yes.
But he also wrote for The Twilight Zone. So that's one of those weird minds that I like, very twisted. And I don't know, I think I would choose that one. That would be good.
How did you go about doing the research to write, your books? Like, I know you went through like the coffee shop and everything, but like, get a little bit more into detail if you could.
Oh yeah. So the Phoenix trilogy, like I said, it starts in Israel, and it's modern day Israel. So I did a lot of online research, of course, not Wikipedia. And if anybody doesn't know, my high school students know that you can go and you can edit articles on Wikipedia. Just squirrel there for a second and throw that out there. So no, I actually
said I know.
She edited.
So it's really just reading articles online. I had a couple of books, and I was always a big history buff, and I do believe in the whole history repeats itself because it's human nature for us to act and do things a certain way. But I wanted to be historically accurate with the way ancient Rome was back then, the way the faiths were. I didn't want to steer a person in a certain direction with a certain faith. I wanted to lay it all out there and let people make a decision how they felt about it. I wasn't going to push a certain belief or anything like that, but I wanted facts. I wanted, the beginnings of the Muslim faith. I wanted the beginnings of the Christian faith. So that meant a lot of research, reading articles, asking questions of priests, at my church, pastors. Oh my goodness, I interviewed a lot of people. The special ops guys, I have a lot of, like I said, the Warrior Bonfire program, the military vets that I know. A lot of research went into that because that's some tough stuff, because I'm too dainty to ever have been a military person. But so I don't know much about that, but I always liked things like that. Let's see, what else? You'll be surprised what you can find in your school library too. But it took a lot. That's the hardest part. But it's very rewarding to read on something that you want to write about, because you know that you're going to make this entertaining for someone else. So it's entertaining for you because you have a goal in mind. I'm going to learn about this, and did that really happen? Instead of following what's going on social media, what's going on the news, just really getting some good facts there that are unbiased and presenting it well in your writing. And my reviewers did say that I know people that know a lot about history said that I nailed a lot of it. So I'm very, very glad I did my research well.
That's a lot to be proud of. That is a major accomplishment. Research is not easy. Um, you have your own podcast called By the Moonlight with your author friend Ella Clark, and it helps industry experts provide information. They're given information to navigate through the writing industry. What inspired you and Ella to create this for other writers?
Yes. So Ella and I met online. She is a fantasy author, an amazing friend now. I go to her for just about everything. We're this great team. But we've had some experiences navigating the writing industry ourselves, and we don't want the same thing to happen to other writers. We spent a lot of money in a lot of different places that didn't need to be spent. So, of course, we never call anyone out. We're not negative, we're extremely positives, and we just try to give writers information and get guests on the show that can give writers good information to help them through this. Because at the end of the day, you're given a gift, writers are given a gift, and your gift needs to get out there. So it's not a competition. It's about getting these works to the masses, and that way people can enjoy literacy and reading and everything to do with that art. And it's so nice when writers get excited about it and they support it and they send the LNI DMs and they ask us questions. And we've been beta readers for writers. We support them big time. We have a book club that we help new and debut authors where we feature their books. We don't read Stephen King because he's getting enough reviews and he's getting enough marketing and money coming in. It's all about helping newer debut authors that are trying to get going, because this industry is tough. There are a lot of people out there that are writing and putting books out there. So whoever we can help, that brings happiness to us. So it's inspirational, and we just try to stay positive and keep doing what we're doing. We don't make any money doing it. It's just something, and we love books. So as we meet these authors, I get to read poetry. I get to critique poetry. It's exciting, fun times.
When does your podcast air?
So usually it airs once a month, but now we have 2 episodes coming out this month. The latest episode just came out yesterday with Laura Cayuette, and I don't know if y'all are familiar with her. She's an actress of movies like Django Unchained and Kill Bill.
Yeah.
But really cool about her is she's got degrees in writing. She's got a master's degree. So she's written fiction and nonfiction books. So she's a wealth of information. So that was an exciting one. And then our next podcast releases in 2 weeks with James Quinn, who's an actor of independent films and writer, producer. So it's some interesting, and screenwriter. So it's some interesting people that help other writers, because these people have stories that are very similar to writers that are trying to get published. It's very similar. You want to give up. You think you're not good enough to get that contract, or you get misled by someone, and those guests have had the same thing where they've said, I'm just going to stick this out. I'm going to keep sticking it out. And they've remained positive, and they're a great influence. So we've had a lot of great guests. We've had an editor from HarperCollins, senior editor from HarperCollins, that tells us about what he's looking for in manuscript. Lots of good people that we don't have to pay. They actually want to come on our show. So it's really cool. It seems like it's been very helpful for the writing community.
Well, that's incredible. That's incredible.
One thing I want to say, so just because people are going to listen to this, your book club is Right or Wrong Virtual Book Club, right? That's the name of it. And anybody could go there who's new or has a new book. Or my question is this: has anyone become famous off of being a part of that group? Like, did you know anyone?
Not yet.
It's going to happen.
Not yet, but it's going to happen.
Speaking of movies and people that they are volunteering their time to help, have you thought about having any of your books made into a movie?
Oh, well, I would love that. I would really love Orion Rising to be
Mhm.
made into a movie because it is a young adult trilogy. It's for teenagers, and it just the I think it would be cool visually to see Houston, Texas, and then to go on. And I didn't mention this earlier, but it does go onto an Indian reservation, and I think that gets
Oh,
the the reservations get missed a lot in the public eye. People don't think about what's going on there and how beautiful their culture is. So I think that would be really neat. And just, I see for Orion Rising it turning into a Star Trek type of series for young adults
I
for
I
today.
could see that.
I said that to Holly. I was like, I would
Mhm.
actually be interested in doing one of these books at just as a pilot myself to, because we have, with our platform, we have television, radio, we have a record label, magazine. So we have like our platform is just unlimited. So everything is fate. And the fact that you deal with homeless people, you could fit right in with our Keep the Peace project as well. We could definitely, because we want to revamp homes and, make it handicap accessible for the veterans and buy buildings and put the homeless in there. Like that's my goal. And I know Holly wants to save the world too. She might even get an elephant and like bring it into the and I'm gonna bring a monkey. But I mean, so picture this. We're doing your movie. Who would you want to play the actor or actresses?
Oh my goodness. See, I haven't thought that far ahead because then I get too excited.
You got to dream big.
Oh, I know who. No, I know who. Have y'all seen that TV show on, I think it's Netflix, Ozarks, the
Yeah.
Ozarks?
Oh, I love that show.
Okay, so you know who
Love that
Taya
show.
Lane, who would play Taya Lane? The girl, the blonde-headed young
The
girl.
the
Remember?
Ruth that plays
Yes,
Ruth.
Ruth.
Yes.
Yes, that's
She is
definitely,
awesome.
that's
She's
Taya Lane.
awesome. Yeah.
She's angry, but she's incredibly smart.
Mhm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I
Oh,
got
you gotta watch Ozark. You
I'm
gotta watch
Yes.
Ozark.
100.
It's twisted.
I'm stuck
Mhm.
100 for sci-fi. That's my thing. And in your picture in the background, it kind of reminds me of it with the moon.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
But yeah, it would make a great Star Trek series because it's time for that again. It's time to explore new worlds
Right.
in a fiction realm where, our young adults can really sink their teeth into something like that again, like we did when we were young.
And it also deals though the difference between the times have changed now. You're actually dealing with real issues that kids are having in this day with all of the, things like school shootings and a lot of trauma that kids go through that.
Texas, my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
So your movies are, I would say, therapeutic. They would be, in your books. But I said your movies. It's really happening. They're therapeutic. They would help.
Mupo and Friends. It's going to a movie, and it might possibly be on Mupo Entertainment.
Yay! No, but that's what I want. I want to raise awareness for what our teenagers are going through. I think a lot of people don't see the struggles that these kiddos are having
Mm.
because they're involved in family issues, they're involved in things on social media. Everything's so thrown at them so much more than what it was for us when we were kids. So they're having trouble processing all of that. I don't think it's any one person's fault. I can't ever say it's a parent or anybody in particular. I think it's society as a whole. And so as an educator, what we do is we just try to help them navigate through this and become well-rounded citizens when they grow up. And if it became a show, or if these kids started reading this book at the amount that I want them to, if it really gets out there, I hope that the techniques, just simple little chapter that it goes into techniques that Taya uses to calm down and to be positive again. That's all taught to me as a behavioral specialist. I wouldn't have known that as a parent. So there's some good stuff in there that I wanted to help these kids with. And then the homeless community, and it's a lot of things. I want my books not only to be entertaining, like I said, I want to raise awareness for our veterans, for even the Native American Indians, and our kiddos, our kids.
Yeah.
So you're a songwriter and you play piano and violin, which violin I love because I'm a big Charlie Daniels fan. Um, what kind of music do you actually love and what do you play? And the reason
Okay.
I'm asking that is because me being a musician myself, I play everything, but I love a certain type of music. So and
Yes.
also do now think about this. Do you play your own music while you're writing or do you get other people to do it? That's another question.
Okay. So
And I'm
I hear
gonna go to it with the questions after that.
that's okay. So I hear music, or I used to. Now that I'm writing, I see stories. It's like you got to open certain floodgates. So when I was younger, when I would open that floodgate, I would hear the music, and I would sit down at the piano and I would try to play what I was hearing in my head. But I'm not the best pianist or the best violinist, or so it would be doing one track at a time, or I would write the treble and then I would go back and do the bass, or so I was not the best pianist, but I got the music down to where someone who was a great pianist, they could, and I'd be like, oh yes, that's exactly what I hear in my head. But it's it's really fun and therapeutic just to sit at the piano and play. Like the other day, I was playing Bette Midler's The Rose, and I can actually play that one, both hands, but and sing it, and it just feels good. It's so relaxing, and my kids seem happier whenever I'm on the piano. But I liked to write kind of pop music. I like Sarah McLachlan. I liked, Debbie Gibson from when I was even younger. I like country. I like music. Oh, I like Imagine Dragons. I like it, but I also like Taylor Swift because of her use of wordplay. She plays, her words are very intelligent. I mean, not intelligent like, sophisticated, but they're cute. She plays around a lot with metaphors. So it's kind of a combination. I mean, I was just listening to AC/DC the other day. I don't.
Deb
Yes.
is a sweetheart, by the way. So I'm gonna get her on the show. I have to call her mom. But yeah, that's AC/DC to Debbie Gibson. Very interesting.
Sounds like me. I have a very
Me,
versatile
yeah.
taste for music. We all do. And I wanted to ask you, you have so many years of experience as a high school, working with high school, elementary kids in Texas, in the public school system, especially. What do you feel is most needed for kids going through disabilities and issues at home that could be implemented in the school system that isn't yet?
It's hard to say because the schools are doing pretty well now, especially the district I'm at right now. We were just in a meeting today about restorative discipline, where we don't just jump up and punish the offender, but we try to repair the harm that was done to everyone involved. Because if you just jump up and punish the offender, then the offender will do it again. It's about rewriting it, changing how we've handled it in the past, and building relationships, teaching them empathy. I know that it's very important early on, and a lot of teachers are learning this now, to build connections, build relationships with these kiddos, or you're not going to get anywhere with them. If you build those relationships, you make a positive impact on them, and you will see that they will begin to do better in class and make turnarounds. And that's one thing I will say about my character, Taylane, in Orion Rising. If it wasn't for the turnaround that some of my behavioral kids made, where they went from being, having a lot of trouble making good grades, they just didn't want to do the work, to they made a huge turnaround and went back in the classroom and were making straight A's and very respectful. In fact, one of them will come in here every now and then and go, Miss Anders, oh, am I disturbing? You're in a meeting, and they have a lot of empathy. It's a huge turnaround if you're patient with them and you show them that they are loved no matter what's going on in the world or at home, or whatever the case may be, they will make a turnaround. And that's what I really tried to do in my book Orion Rising, is show that with the right connections, the right relationships, that there's hope that you can turn your life around and do great things. So it's very important.
I always say that empathy is so underrated sometimes. But people say compassion, but empathy, to be in wear other people's shoes, is so important. If you can convey that to kids, that's major. As a mom, you have two teenagers and one in elementary. What is the legacy you want to accomplish before you move on from this world and leave for your kids?
I want to instill in them the value of hard work and being respectful, being responsible. But I also want to show them that when you work hard and when you don't stop dreaming, that your dreams can come true, that things will happen for you if you never give up. And it's exciting to see, as I move along through this career as an author, to see their reactions when just being on your show, when they see their reaction to that, because I tell them everything. And or the award that I won the other night, those things. My daughter sent me a text. She was like, "Mom, we got to celebrate. We got to celebrate." And so they're seeing me in action, and I'm showing them that not not only as an author but as an educator, if you work hard and you give it your all, good things come. So that's a big part. But to also love one another, always love one another. When things are tough, or you see things a different way than someone else, to be patient with that, be patient with them. And remember, at the end of the day, I think we're all a huge family, and it's important that we continue to love them. It gets hard, I completely understand, but just be patient with people.
Wow,
That's true. That is
so true.
Now, tell us about your nonprofit organization that you support called Warrior Bonfire, and talk about, the PTSD and the ADHD, and, um, you know, what do you feel is greatly missing from the treatment of these illnesses, when it comes to our veterans of the United States of America, who I love
Yes.
for serving
I,
us?
I think it still comes down to awareness. I think the government's catching up now, and they're putting programs in place to get these veterans the counseling that they need. I don't know that it's enough because we're still having too many suicides. Um, I just, I think it's something that we need to continue to post about, talk about. It needs to be a discussion that's still ongoing, and more programs like the Warrior Bonfire program need to happen so that it's made available all over the United States. Even though the Warrior Bonfire program started in Mississippi, and they take the veterans hunting in Louisiana, Texas, they take them skiing in Colorado. I just cook for them. I mean, that's about it. But anyway, so, but they've been all over the United States, but still, to get into certain chapters, it's harder because it's small. It just was started by my family. So there are other ones, Wounded Warrior program. There are some other organizations. I think people need to reach out to them, give them, donate some money, help them, because they're, like I said, or like you said, not for profit. So in order to make this happen for these veterans, they need funding. But
I'd like to say this, because I'm big on the veterans. I wrote a song called "Keep the Peace." I did a rock version and an R&B version, and for me, I want to put that for, suicide awareness. So if you want to use it to gain money, and you could sell it, to raise money for your organization, I don't have a problem with that. I'm willing, you could definitely do that, because um, I'm all about the veterans.
oh my goodness, yes, that would be great.
That's from
Thank you.
the whole Mupo family. So
Oh my goodness, that's awesome.
Yep.
please send you over the songs. You could definitely use it, because I want it to go nationwide. Along,
Yeah,
we'll talk after this, but
Awesome. Awesome. That's what we need. That's what we need. And
And
that's amazing.
you're doing great things already that you have in the works. So that this is a good opportunity while you have the momentum.
It's kind of something that just started and just took off, and it's a Christian organization. Um, and it had, my cousin's a veteran, and I have several family members that are veterans. So they all put their thoughts into it and built it to what it is. And when they say warrior bonfire, they actually have a ceremony. And I'll just jump on this real quick and talk about this for a second. They do have a ceremony where after a day of skiing or after a day of hunting, they come together at night and they actually light a bonfire. And they go around with pieces of an American flag. And this is okay to do. The government is okay. People do this. It's called retiring the flag. And they go around from one veteran to another, and each veteran will hold up a piece of the flag and say, this piece of the flag is for such and such who died with me in Afghanistan or in Somalia or in, somewhere, or even suicide, someone that committed suicide, something that they wanted to honor them or bring up their name and talk about it because it's hurting them, the veteran that's holding the flag. It's painful. So it's their chance to talk about that friend. And then after they're done, they go to the bonfire and they drop it in the bonfire and they retire that piece. And it's such a moving moment. You can find that on YouTube, by the way, if y'all ever want to watch it. It just,
I
first time I saw it, I
do.
cried.
I have tears in my eyes, and I have a flag. I have a
It's
flag
beautiful.
of the United States of America. So, and the vet. So, ugh, that's
No,
tough.
I'm sorry.
yeah, no, that's beautiful. You've shared so many incredible. You're very, very deep. It's just such a pleasure to have met you. Well, it has been a pleasure having you as our guest, and we appreciate you sharing your thoughts, your endeavors, all about your books. And if any of you I recommend you go to Amazon, is where you can find the trilogies, and the one that is coming out, really just released in March.
Yes,
Yes.
Phoenix 3. It's a closing of the Phoenix trilogy.
So you can find all of the trilogies on Amazon. And thank you so much, Jackie, for being on here. Before we leave, just want to ask you a few fun questions, things like fans want to know, or um, uh, aspiring writers in the audience questions. But these are just fun things. So, what is your kryptonite as a writer?
Stress. Stress. I can't, it shuts all the walls come up and I can't relax enough to hear, see anything. So I have to calm myself down. And sometimes it takes wine, sometimes it takes coffee, sometimes it takes running. I jog a lot. And actually, a lot of stories come to me just when I'm running. But if I'm stressed, it's not happening.
And what is your favorite writing snack?
Popcorn. Because it's not messy. So well, unless I butter it too much. If it's too buttery, then the butter gets all over my keys. But yeah, it's just one of those you can just eat type. Oh, a lot type.
And what is something that you like to do when you're not doing any of your endeavors? What is a part of Jackie that someone might not know? A fun fact about yourself.
I love to decorate my house. I like to sit outside and drink coffee on the back porch, and I can sit there for hours and watch my dog run around. I like to watch my kids run around outside. And I love movies. And speaking of, since it's almost Christmas time, I love the back-to-back Christmas Hallmark movies. Yeah, you can't pull me away from it. It's pretty pathetic.
That's like a guilty pleasure.
Yep.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Jackie. And don't forget, you can find Jackie Anders on Amazon. You can also find her on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram as at Jackie Anders. And until next time, this wraps up Mupo and Friends. This is Holly Lombardi, your co-host, and our host, the CEO of Mupo Entertainment, Michele Mupo. And we are, join me in this, over and out.